Hey, how's it going? It's another episode of Can I Fly here. Today we're going to be taking a look at Montreal, Quebec. Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Ian here from the future, editor Ian. I screwed up. So when I recorded the screencast for this, I forgot to reset the resolution of my screen. So I only got a quarter of the top left of the screen. So it's pretty much useless. So all you're going to have on screen is going to be the TV over my shoulder in this video. I apologize. I think we still see most of what I'm talking about, and hopefully it still get the point across. But if you can accept that for this one, I promise for next week it'll be a lot better, and we'll have actual screencasting and overlays. Be sure in the comments to let me know where you'd like to see me do a site survey and a Can I Fly Here episode, and enjoy this one in the meantime. And thanks a lot. Make sure you like and subscribe and enjoy the video. See you soon. And we're going to be digging around and figuring out what we need to do for a site survey and determining what kind of limitations there might be for flying our drone in a busy area just east of downtown Montreal. So it's going to be a bit of a live site survey, and we'll work through what we need to do as a drone pilot to figure out, can we legally fly here? So let's kind of set up the scenario. We are flying the Mavic 3, the new shiny drone, and we've been hired by a golf course in Montreal on, it looks like it's called Nuns Island, just east of Montreal. And we've been hired by the golf course to do some promo footage of each of the hole. And this is it looks like it's a 9-hole golf course. So we're going to be doing shots of each hole, and we're going to be doing features. So they want to see when you tee off, the way the ball might fly as it's going down the green. They're going to want to see some orbiting shots of the tee. They're going to want to see some orbiting shots of each hole and some general kind of promo footage of the area. So there's going to be a lot of different dynamic shots potentially that need to be done for this project. So you've negotiated your rate, like the project's a go, customer's giving you approval for using the entire golf course property for however you see fit for the drone. So now we need to do a little bit more site surveying, right? We've gotten that. We know what we're delivering. We're going to be delivering promotional edited footage out of the Mavic 3 here to the customer. We're going to be doing some editing and everything else. But today we're focusing on the site survey side of it. So we've got the map. We know first off where we are, and we're going to set the scenario further. You're an advanced pilot. You've got your drone business. You've got insurance. You've been doing this for a little while. And now we need to do what is our standard practice. So let's talk about the site survey, right? So for every flight, whether you're basic or advanced, you need to do a site survey. It's in Transport Canada Aviation's regulations, and we're going to zoom in a little bit here. Oops, Command Plus. So site survey, it's CARS, Canadian Aviation Regulations, 901.27. No pilot shall operate a remotely piloted aircraft system unless, before commencing operations, they determine that the site for takeoff, launch, landing, or recovery is suitable for the proposed operation by conducting a site survey that takes into account the following factors. You need to know A, the boundaries of the area of operation. B, the type of airspace and the applicable regulatory requirements. C, the altitudes and routes to be used for the approach and departure from the area of operation. D, the proximity of manned airport or manned aircraft operations. E, the proximity of aerodromes, airports, and heliports. F, the location and height of obstacles, including wires, masts, buildings, cell phone towers, and wind turbines. G, the predominant weather and environmental conditions for the area of operation. And H, the horizontal distances from persons not involved in the operation. That's handy. H for horizontal. Some other pre-flight requirements. Before commencing, you must ensure there's sufficient amount of fuel or energy for safe completion. Yeah, that makes sense. You must ensure that each crew member, before acting as a crew member, has been instructed or briefed with respect to the duties that the crew member is going to perform, and on the location and use of any emergency equipment, so fire extinguisher, first aid kit, cell phone, radio, associated with the operation of the RPAS. And you must determine the maximum distance from the pilot that the aircraft can safely travel without endangering aviation safety or the safety of any person. So let's dig into the site survey. We're going to first talk about the boundaries of the area of operations. So let's do that. Okay, so it's this golf course. Realistically, we're surrounded by a river. We've got green space here. We've got lac de pâture. Now, I apologize. My accent and French is terrible. The last time I spoke French full time was in high school, and even then it was terrible. So that's not an excuse. Um, there is an amphitheater, it looks like. Yeah, there's two soccer fields and that's not an amphitheater. My apologies. That is a cemetery, it looks like. Okay, so we won't go over there. And then there's a residential area to the right or to the east, and there's another park / residential area, and it looks like it's a municipal park to the south. So the golf course is private property for the purposes of this exercise. So we know that we have no problem with operating the drone from anywhere on this land as a customer. And because it looks like it's a pretty open golf course, I don't see a ton of trees. There's going to be pretty good opportunities for line of sight, even for sending the drone out over the water for establishing shots at a distance. Obviously, you want to be operating from the shoreline. So if you're going out 500 or 600 meters, that's probably the limit for visual line of sight, depending on your own visual acuity, the background behind the drone. Like if you're flying looking and the drone is here and there's a bunch of city buildings behind it, it's going to be harder to spot the drone and maintain line of sight than if it's clear blue sky. So that's something to consider as well. So boundaries of operation is pretty straightforward, right? It's this entire area. Our takeoff and landing is going to be lots of multiple locations because we're doing all 9 holes here, I'm assuming. And we also have the driving range. So we've got a bunch of different locations we would have to pick a spot. So for example, if I wanted to get a tee off, I would probably, knowing that the Mavic 3 can do roughly 40 minutes of flight time, I want to try and get as many of my shots as possible per battery, per flight, without having to reorient or choose a different takeoff spot. So, and I want to be as efficient as possible because I probably might be time limited as well to when I can get the shots if there's people in the area, or based on ideal lighting conditions, right? So if we're planning this, we want to think about not only the Transport Canada and the creative side of, well, what's a shot going to look like? When am I going to get the shot, right? What's the ideal lighting situation? If the drone is facing south and it's March right now, so it's still kind of borderline spring, where's the sun going to be at what time of day, and what would make sense for us? Do we want the sun to be at sunset, or do we want it to be at sunrise? And what's going to give us the light that's ideal? Or do we want to be shooting in the middle of the day when it's straight down or pretty flat? Probably not. The most dramatic lighting is what, like, imagine the Pebble Beach golf shot that you want to get, and it's that beautiful golden light. Well, you get golden hour either later into the afternoon, evening, so 3, 4, 5 o'clock, depending on time of year. In the summer, maybe 6, 7, 8 o'clock. Or if it's in the spring, in the morning, is it just before sunrise or just after sunrise? Getting that super early morning shot might be really worth it because you get that pink hue in the sky as well. One of the things to consider when we're talking about the boundary of our operation, though, is where's our first hazards for people? Well, so looking at this, the west side is pretty safe, right? It looks like it's either a road or a walking path, so not too many opportunities for people to be in the way. A boundary there is going to be golf balls. For sure, people are going to be trying to line drive a ball through your drone. If they see it in the air and they're at the golf range, they're going to try and hit it. Guaranteed. No matter what it is, that is a target. So if you are flying over the driving range, you need a plan either to shut down the range and do this when it's closed, or be high enough straight up, like not flying below 200 feet or something like that. So that's something we got to think about when we start getting into airspace on this site survey. East side, it's the lake. So there might be birds to be aware of there, potentially waterfowl, because it looks like it's a marshy. So there could be ducks, there could be other waterfowl that are in the area there. And then you've got more marshy kind of areas. And then you've got that kind of looks like it's probably a retirement home or a apartment complex there, and more residential areas to the east. So that's going to be a factor. Okay, let's switch the map real quick to a street map and just make sure. So is this technically a park? It's a park, but it's also a private park, I believe, would be the way to consider this because it's a golf course. So I think we're good there. Symphonia Park, well, you're not taking off from any of this land. Most likely you can take off and maintain line of sight from the golf course. Other than maybe you need to get some shots along the east side here. So that would be something you have to factor into it is, do you have permission to take off, or is there a public street? Or is this a private gated neighborhood? So that's something to think about as well. So yeah, we've established our boundaries of operations pretty much, right? The ideal thing next to be is to draw a box using like Google Earth or something. But we can do that in Nav Drone. So let's switch over to Nav Drone because the next step is B, the type of airspace and applicable regulatory requirements. So this is part B. So we're in Nav Drone, and this is my operational dashboard. I'm going to switch to the flight map because we still are doing the site survey. We aren't preparing anything yet. And one of my pet peeves is no matter how far we zoom in and get this going, we're going to have to go back and do it again anyway for when we do our operation. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the map type to a satellite map so that we can find the spot that we were working on. There's Toronto. My mouse is super aggressive today. There's Kingston. I am so lost. Don't tell my dad he was a geography teacher. There's Montreal. There we are. Ile de Sur. Oh yeah, Ile de Sur. Sister Island, not island. Terrible translation. Okay, good job, Ian. Let's see what we're at. So we are here. We want to fly in this area. Oh, it's all red. Why is it all red? Let's click on it. Will it tell us? Let's click right on the golf course and we'll dig in here. Montreal, Pierre Elliott Trudeau International. It is a control zone, so it's probably Class C airspace. The lower limit is 0 feet, so it's to the ground. And the upper limit is 3,000 feet above sea level. All right. So we know that we're inside one controlled airspace. Wow, zoomy. And what is this over here? This is also the same. It just goes up to 2,000 instead of 3,000. It's Saint Hubert. So we've got two different control zones here. So that's interesting. So that might challenge getting a ton of, you might have to make multiple requests in Nav Drone. I haven't done a flight that crosses two different control zones. So that's an interesting, with Nav Drone. So it's all the same organization. It's Nav Canada that manages the airspace, and they talk to each other because if an airplane were moving from airspace to airspace, so they would get handed off, or they might be on the same tower. So that'll be interesting for Nav Drone. So we know first off that this is Class C airspace. Let's take a look at the map. Let's go to flightplan.com and let's bring up the sectional for Montreal. There we are. There it is. Okay, let's hide this. And I always make the mistake of over zooming. There we go. So there's Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Interesting. Okay, yeah. So we were talking about different layers of airspace. Here's an inter-control zone boundary. You see these lines of eyes? That is between this area of airspace that goes all the way around here where this dark shaded line is, all the way down. And you can see it's a control zone, Class C, Charlie, from the surface to 3,000 feet or 2,900 feet above ground. And it goes all the way over here and around here and around here. And there's a line here. So actually it goes to here. And then there's a step. But there's the other end of the control, Class C airspace, and it doglegs to the right east there, out and around and around and around. I'm lost. There it is, to the tunnel. So that's all Class C airspace to the ground. But there's two different areas. There's a line that splits them in half, and you've got Pierre Boucher and Pierre Trudeau on the west side, and Pierre Boucher or Longueuil, I'm sorry, on the east side. So two different control zones, both Class C airspace, and they are managed by two different radio towers. On the east side here, you've got surface to 2,000 feet tower 118.4. That was hard to read. Class C, and on the west side, you've got surface to 3,000, and it's tower 119.9. Yeah. Okay. Not that it really matters at this point. So in most cases, in Class C control zone airspace now, if Nav Canada or if you're flying a drone, you're going to be using the phone to communicate with tower and plan your intentions. Because we're straddling two different control zones here, this might be interesting. This is something I'd be really curious, and I'm going to do a little bit more digging. We're doing this live. We're figuring this out together as we go. So that's something that's really interesting, and I'll stay tuned. I'll find out about that, either in the comments or I'll do a follow-up video. So, okay. I want to spend a little bit more time in the map, even though we already know it's Class C control zone to the ground. It makes it really straightforward, right? There's a tower managing the airspace above us. So really, we know who we need to talk to, the tower. Regardless if there's a heliport or a seaport or anything else nearby, the tower manages the airspace in that area. So that tower is a person that is going to separate traffic because it's Class C. So all traffic is separated by the tower. It's still your responsibility to not hit anything as a pilot, but the tower is going to direct you away from other traffic if you were another crewed aircraft. But let's see here. There's some interesting stuff going on here. So this dark blue arrowed line, that's a VFR route. And it looks like it comes from the northeast. You've got an optional route to the south transitioning across the river. There's another northeast route. Okay, so this is VFR for lining yourself up for the runway or for doing probably a river tour or a city tour for VFR sightseeing traffic. So this would be for airplanes and helicopters that are touring the city. And it kind of shows you the directed route that you should take to stay away from the runways, stay away from the approach and departure, or it's called the extended center line from the center of the runway. So if this is your if this is your runway right here, and this line down here and this line up here, that's the extended center line. So you wouldn't want to be crossing that as an aircraft. That's bad juju. Okay, let's see what else is on here that's important. I did a video recently about maps, so I'm kind of on a map kick. Since we're already here and we're looking at it, its elevation is 118 feet above sea level for the airport. It's lit. It's 110 times 100 long, so it's 11,000 feet long is the longest runway. No radio information here because it's up in the top left. Oh boy, what did I just do? Got all clicky. It's over here. Okay. Lots of towers in the area, but obstacles and obstructions aren't going to matter. So we know it's Class C. Let's go into Nav Drone and make a request. Okay. And what are we going to need to know for the request? So let's do it. Let's create one. Let's see here. Let's go to create operation. And remember what I said about Nav Drone resetting your map view. It's kind of annoying, guys and girls. Let's see here. Montreal. Is that Montreal? Nope. That's Upper Canada, isn't it? Someone will tell me Upper Canada, Lower Canada. Wasn't that Social Studies 8? Wow, I am way lost. There? That looks, oh, yep. Okay. We want to fly here. So let's draw a zone. We're going to draw a polygon. So we already established that effectively the air boundaries for the primary mission of what we're doing isn't over the village. Now, there's a thought to this. Oh, I'm probably going to have to hit escape to stop it. I've made a horrible mess. That was terrible. We're going to do that again. Let's draw it again. I'm just using the roads as my rough boundary here. And okay, so here's one neat thing. If you're on a different time zone, it'll warn you that you're planning a mission in a different time zone. So we hit OK there. There's our polygon. So there's the zone. And we're going to put at least one takeoff point and landing point. To make this easier to see, let's change the map to satellite. Oh yeah, see, like we're wasting space here. We don't need all that. Actually, that would be great to use that northeast quadrant and ask for permission up there. And here's why. If you want to be able to do a pullback shot and orbit the golf course up here on the northeast side, you're going to get you're going to get a view of the city in the background. And because it's a wooded area, you've got a very good chance of not flying over people. So that's a perfect spot to have. So yeah, good job, Ian. Good thinking. Takeoff and landing points. We can amend it. Let's make our polygon a little bigger. Whoops. Done. And we're going to add a takeoff and landing point. We're going to add one here just because we really only need one to start. We'll put another one here at the spot here, and we're going to add, that point, and we're going to add another emergency spot over here as an alternate over on the putting green. That might be a water thing. Okay, so we've got a few spots here. Now, so we're going to hit save. Right? We've got a bunch of things we still have to do before we can send this in. So first off, first mistake you made, Ian, what did you forget to do? You forgot to set the drone. So let's go to operation. Oh boy, did it not save it? There it is. Okay, it's in draft. Good. So we've got our area. We need to adjust our parameters. So we're going to go to edit. And we're going to go to parameters. And we're going to call this one golf course marketing. And we are advanced. We have to be advanced because it's class C, right? Our drone is more than 250 grams. Mavic 3 has a safety assurance declaration, so it's good for in controlled airspace near people, right? So 5 meters and outward. And this is going to be photography and videography. We're going to maintain visual line of sight at all times. We're going to say it's now. We're going to say we're going to try and get up to 400 feet. And the drone, I have to update this actually, but it was set as a Mavic 2 zoom because when Nav drone first, it hadn't updated to support the Mavic 3 yet. So, but that is the registration number of the drone. And the pilot's me. And there's my cell phone number, everyone. Congratulations. No, we're going to hide that. Okay. So we're going to hit save. Now we've got some more actions that we need to deal with. So now we have to submit, right? Before we're going to get permission to do this, we actually have to submit it. So we're going to go into tasks, right? So we have to publish it first. And let's look at some other disclaimers here. So we've got comply with all air traffic control instructions. Flights above 400 feet are only allowed if authorized by ATC or by, well, in this case, it's controlled airspace. So that's the only person that's going to give you it. But the other side of it would be an SFOC. Contact Nav Canada if there's any inadvertent entry into Class F special use restricted airspace, or if you lose control. No flights are allowed when it's icing. Operations in close proximity to buildings may experience RF interference, so it's a warning. Pilots must ensure you review all NOTAMs, notice to airmen. RPAS operators are responsible for ensuring that their operations are compliant with all applicable laws, including the cars. Well, yeah. And criminal code and any regulations or legislation related to trespass, voyeurism, and privacy. So don't be a creep. If you have an ELT or a frost, ice, and snow adhering to any part are not allowed. So you can't have an ELT because if that gets set off, it's going to really confuse everyone. So don't do that. And also transponders are usually required to be turned off on drones if you have one. But double check that. So airspace, it's CYUL. Weather, this is handy, right? That's one of our site survey requirements. So we've got airspace, altitudes, routes, proximity. We've talked about proximity, well, not to manned aircraft, but weather. It is nighttime right now. Sunsets at 4:13, 1613 local. It's 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Why is this in Fahrenheit? That's interesting. KP index is 3, so it's low. That's not a geomagnetic storm level. Visibility is unlimited, 32,000 feet. Winds are southeast. Dew points 33. Temperatures 40, so it's a pretty good spread. So there's not going to be too much for risk of fog. Wind is in feet per second, 16 feet per second. 16 feet. So divide that by, let's say, 3. So that's 5 meters per second, which is 20 kilometers per hour. Why? My settings must be messed up. Okay. We're going to submit this. So we're going to hit publish. We've set the time. It's published. Now we've got more work to do. Now you need to submit your permission request because it's to the ground, right? It's controlled airspace from the surface up, and in the grid spacing, it was the lower limit was 0. So it's not going to give you any automatic approval. So then we're going to hit submit. It's going to ask you some details about your drone and your operation. So what's going to ask you is, what's the process and time required to terminate the flight in event of emergency? In most situations, I'm going to return to home. It's going to take most likely less than 5 minutes at maximum speed. And also it's asking you what's the pre-programmed behavior for your drone. So this is going to vary based on the drone you're flying. But for the Mavic 3, what we're doing today, 5 minutes is reasonable. That's a limited. The idea is that if they contact you and say, look, you need to land right now, how long it's going to take you? Maximum is going to be 5 minutes. So they know. If you lose a C2 link, it's going to automatically return to home as long as your home point is set. Same thing. So it's going to return to home. It's going to be less than 5 minutes. Do you need an SFOC for today? Nope. The drone is less than 25 kilograms. It's maintaining visual line of sight. We're not going above 400 feet. And in that situation, because it's controlled, the ATS will give us the permission anyway. And we're not flying over people at a advertised event. So no SFOC required. Situations most likely to require an SFOC, flying a bigger drone like a Matrice 600 with a big gimbal and a red and a whole bunch of extra batteries and lights. If you get up to like 30 kilograms, then it's SFOC time. This is where it would be good to have a more formal site survey and upload it. But your area of operations site survey is actually pretty well taken care of by having it in this in-nav drone. So we'll hit OK. What would happen next is it goes into, oh, wow, I'm eating crow because it was auto approved. So I totally misread that. I apologize. So I thought it said 0 to 400 or upper being, I always get that backwards. Okay, I understand now. So we're approved to fly. At this point, we could go fire up the drone at the golf course and we're good to go. So we've got a commercial mission. Here's going to be the notice. It's going to give you details of how it's approved and the procedure and communication plan for it. So let's go through it. We've got a flight request access controlled airspace is authorized within. Pilot in command is authorized. I'm responsible for the drone. Altitude limits are absolute values above ground. So I'm cleared to 400 feet in the time window. I need to make sure I have capability to communicate with the tower at all times during the mission. And make sure the weather and NOTAMs aren't a factor. So, and it's saying here, in the event of a flyaway, my emergency contact number is Montreal Trudeau Tower at 514-633-3312, and they're going to want to see the following information. So last observed position and altitude, direction of flight, and remaining battery life, because they want to know where it is, where it's going, how high it is, and how much longer is it going to be a threat. Okay, let's go into details here. This has anything else that really mattered. This is what I submitted. And you can also download this as a PDF, which I highly recommend to have a copy of it with you. So then I've got that. And it's going to have the same details. And it also has the actual site survey attached to the end of it as well. So there's the boundaries of my operation over the island. Right, so that's really cool. I now know that in this situation, it would be auto-approved. That's neat. Okay, let's go back to our site survey. So we've discussed type of airspace. We've discussed altitudes and routes, right? We know roughly how the drone's going to be flying around the area, where locations for takeoff and landing are. Proximity of manned aircraft. Well, we know there's two major international airports, right? We've looked at the chart here. So we know that there's going to be air traffic going in and out of Pierre Trudeau. We know there's going to be air traffic going in and out of Longueuil. Potentially Longueuil is going to be one that's going to be more of a conflict, because you can see how there's that VFR traffic route right over top that is setting them up. So if the winds are out of the east, there's going to be air traffic on approach. So low altitude, going slow, lining up for the runway. If the winds are out of the west, they're going to be taking off. Most likely they're not going to be down too low, because they're at high power setting, climbing out and departing the runway. But still, our responsibility as a drone pilot is to see and avoid and always yield to crewed aircraft or manned aircraft. Proximity of aerodromes, airports, and heliports. Well, we just covered that. Excuse me. We have a heliport there, and that's pretty much it for directly in vicinity. So heliports, the reason you want to know where they are is if there's any potential helicopters coming in to land nearby, because they'll be flying at very low levels, and they're not restricted to 1,000 feet when they're in the process of taking off or landing. So that's what we got to watch out for. Location of obstacles, wires, masts, buildings, cell phones. Well, there's lots of buildings and stuff in the area. This is relatively obstacle free. We did take a look at it. There's lots of trees, but they don't look to be super dense right in the area. One other thing to do is to go to Street View and take a look at the area from the ground level if it's possible, or go into 3D mode on Google Maps. I don't know if I've got 3D mode on this map. Do I? No, because I'm using Google Maps instead of Google Earth, because I'm silly. Let's take a quick look. Tell me if you like these longer format videos, or if I'm completely wasting your time as well, please. Because this is probably getting close to 45 minutes now. And I know I'm trying to talk as fast as I can, but I also don't want to skip over important information. There it is. Okay, let's go to 3D. Okay, so there's some towers in the area. So those are potential, not really hazards, but they are potentially things to think about. There's a tower. What's that? Oh, it's a crane. That's probably not there anymore, and there's probably a tower there instead. That looks like a hotel, or a really, really nice apartment building. Probably crazy expensive rent. Big hazard, obviously, is the golf course, right? People driving balls at your drone. If you're out here doing anything, there might be nets, although this looks like it's an open area, so you might be safe. Tree. There's a couple towers there. Though, yeah, there's a net here, so that's something to be aware of. I know I'm humming and probably annoying. It's pretty nice high-res photogrammetry here. I always love Google Earth. Okay, what else have we got to do? Predominant weather, we talked about, it's clear. Wind conditions, right? If it's east or west, that's going to be a factor. And finally, the horizontal distance, H for horizontal, from persons not involved in the operation. Okay, so we talked about using this big grassy or big wooded area as an opportunity to do a large orbiting flight. We know that we can fly over vehicles safely. We are an advanced pilot and this is rated for 5 meters distance. So we have that. That's 16 and a half feet. So we can get fairly close to people that aren't involved, but we don't want to be immediately over top of anyone at any altitude, right? It's an infinite column for 5 meters radius around the person of safety. So 2 ways we can do this is, like I said, we can try and shoot this at ideal times, super early in the morning before anyone gets there, or later in the evening after the golf course closes, or set up sandwich boards at the entrance to the golf course, at any entrances to the green area, and have pamphlets and some sort of notice that give people informed consent. If you can, but the problem is it has to be relatively controlled access. This is a pretty big area. So I would say that if you can put a sandwich board somewhere here that says there's a drone filming in the area, if you see it in the area and you feel like it's within 5 meters, just move out of the way if it's hovering. But most likely a lot of these shots, because they're either going to be fairly low to the ground, you're going to have good control over it because you're just taking off and going straight down the green. You're going to wait till the green is clear. And if it's at high altitude, well, it's probably transiting over the water to get a orbiting shot from the east or the west over the water. So you're going to limit your exposure, right? It's just something we've got to think about. Anything else we need to think about? Energy. Well, it's got a 40-minute battery, right? We've got the Flymore kit comes with 3 batteries. It's one I'd recommend getting. That gives us a lot of flight time to probably have like 3 different spots that we could use as takeoff and landing areas and maintain line of sight and maintain that we're not flying over top of people. So that's how I would probably break this project up into for shots. And then crew briefing. So at this point, I think we've covered everything that we need to for the site survey and knowing what we can do and fly at this spot. So I'm going to call it there. And if you have any questions or if you think that this was a complete waste of time, you can tell me in the comments below. If you think I'm providing a service and this is worthwhile content, please make sure that you like this video and hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. We're trying to grow the channel. We're trying to do this on a more regular basis. Also, let us know of a spot that you think would be cool to do a site survey or a walkthrough like this. And some ideas about what's not relevant, right? Let's try and make this shorter because this was probably, I don't even want to look at the timer yet. Even if I cut this down, I feel like I haven't given too many opportunities to stop talking. So thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate you taking the time and watching these videos. And if you haven't already, consider getting your advanced pilot certificate. There's 60,000 roughly drone pilots in Canada, and only 10% of them have gone from basic to advanced. That's an opportunity to grow your skill set and enter a market where there are less than 6,000-ish probably commercial operators out there in the drone industry in Canada right now. You don't need to have an advanced to run a business. You don't need to, but it's one of those things. Like if you want to do something like this, you need an advanced certificate. You need that flexibility. So it's definitely something to think about. There's opportunities to upgrade your certificate. Like if you've got to do it every 24 months anyway and do some sort of recency, getting your advanced and doing that flight review is a great opportunity to do that. If you got any questions, you can email us at info@coastaldrone.co. Visit us on the web at coastaldrone.co or find us on social at coastaldroneco. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and the web, and our blogs. So have a great day. Thanks for watching this, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.